Alright, so the user TCB on Facepunch has asked me to do a tutorial on input outputs. He wanted some kind of complicated trigger thing going on. I didn't know what I couldn't think of an example, so he just came up with a barrel dropper, or can dropper, I guess, for me. So I'm going to go ahead and just get started on that. I already have all the brushwork done. I just did, something a little simple here. Don't have any entities right now besides my player start and a light, info lighting, or light environment, I mean. It's like 6 o'clock in the morning and I only got like 2 hours of sleep after working all day. But, whatever, it doesn't matter. That's not important. Sleep, who needs it? So I guess we're just going to jump right into this. See if I can't make this a little bigger. Maybe that'd make it a little easier to see what I'm doing here. Alright, so I guess the first thing I'm going to do is set up or add the barrel. We're just going to do a barrel because that's a pretty basic common item. So I'm just going to add my prop physics somewhere above here and go to the world model here. Select the oil drum and then hit apply. And I'm gonna go ahead and just name this barrel. I'm not gonna give it any special amazing name here. Okay, so there's the barrel. It's just gonna float up top. It won't actually be there when we compile the map and run it, because we're gonna add in a point underscore template, and we're just gonna add it right under the barrel, right here. Now I can go ahead and open up its properties and give it a name of template, or barrel template, or whatever you want to name it. And under template 1, we're just going to put barrel. Go ahead and save. Hammer seems to crash for some reason on me quite often. I don't know why, but it does. I hope I'm not the only one this happens to, though. So now we have our barrel. Next, let's get it so that we can actually push a button to make the barrel spawn in. Well, I guess the point template, what that will do is whenever it's triggered, it will copy the original item, which in our case is this barrel, and it will spawn it into the world. This way you can add in multiple barrels with the same name. For whatever reason, I can't really think of one. I'm just going to kind of go through this. So I already got my little button brushwork set up here, and I'm just going to go ahead and select that and turn that into a func underscore brush. Alright, and I'm going to go ahead and, let's see here. Oh, not brush, I meant button. Yeah, it's tired. And I'm going to change the delay before reset to 4, just, a second longer, just because. And in the flags, I'm going to hit don't move. Alright, you're going to save again. Alright, so now that we have that, we just want to go to our outputs and our func button and hit add and on pressed. And then we're going to select our template entity, and then we're going to do force spawn as the via this input. And I'm going to go ahead and just name this button as button. I'm trying to keep it super simple here. Hope I'm not going too fast. So far we have our point template, our prop physics, and a func button. Next, we're going to add in the trigger that tells us when there are 3 barrels inside of it to make the door open. So I'm going to go ahead and just select my trigger texture, and I'm going to place it over my little area here where my door is going to be, just like this. Alright, so here's my trigger brush texture, and then I'm going to go turn that into an entity with Control T. And I'm going to scroll down and change this to a trigger multiple. Alright, I'm just going to name this, I don't think I need to name this one. Alright. And then with that selected, I'm going to add in a math counter. The counter is going to be the one that actually tells us how many barrels are inside this trigger. I'm just going to name this math counter, and the maximum legal value is going to be 3. And the initial value is 0, and so is the minimum legal value. And next, what I'm going to do is I'm going to add in a filter activator name. I'm going to just set that right next to the math counter there. It says, hello, my name is Gordon. And I'm going to give this a name of filter. Or actually, I want to just name it barrel filter instead. And with the filter name, that's going to be barrel. So we know that. And make sure filter mode is set to allow entities that match criteria, because that's kind of important. And then I'm going to save. And the trigger brush, the trigger multiple brush, it has a setting for filter name. This is what you would use the filter activator name entity for, so barrel filter. I'm going to hit apply. And then I'm going to go to outputs and go to add. And on start touch, not on start touch all, but on start touch, I'm going to select that. And then I'm going to select the counter. And then I'm going to hit, for the via this input, I'm going to hit add. And then with the perimeter override of 1. So that way, whenever a barrel spawns in, it's going to hit the trigger brush, and it's going to add 1 to the counter. And then when another one hits it, it's going to add another 1 to the counter. And so on and so forth until there's 3 in there. And then once that happens, we're going to have a door open, and the barrels are going to fall down into this little pit down here. So next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and go to my math counter and go to the outputs and hit add. And then I'm going to get on hit max. I'm going to go ahead and select my button here. And then I'm going to go ahead and lock the button. So that way players can't spam the button while the door is opening and the barrels are falling. This way it gives it a sort of a resting time, if that's what you want to call it. So we're going to go ahead and lock that, and then we're also going to go add and on hit max again, but this time we're going to select the counter itself as the target entity's named, and we're going to go down to set value and 0. So that way it resets the counter back to 0 every time it hits 3. Now I have my little ice brush texture thing here, and I'm just going to go ahead and turn this into a func door. Now this is, there's all sorts of ways to make doors and stuff, hinges or whatever. I'm just going to keep this really simple. I'm just going to name this door. Doesn't need anything fancy. Delay before reset 4, that's fine. Oh yeah, before I forget, on your trigger multiple brush, make sure you go to the flags, and the hammer crashed on me. That happens all the time. Oh well. We're gonna open that back up real quick. It seems to only do that whenever I hit the flags part of it. But anyway, we're going to hit flags, and then uncheck clients, and make sure you hit physics objects. That's kind of important, because if you don't do that, then it will never actually count the barrels, which is kind of important. Okay, so I'm going to go back to my func door here, and I already got a name. I'm going to uncheck touch opens in the flags, and Then I'm just going to take the little ball here in the middle and I'm going to set it over to just one of the edges here, just one of the sides. Alright, so now that's done. And then I'm going to go ahead and go back to my functor, and on the outputs of the functor I'm going to hit add, and then on fully closed I'm going to select the button and then I'm going to make it unlock the button. So that way our process is ready. Now I'm going to go back to my math counter and go to the outputs, hit add, on hit max, select the door, and now we will open the door. Awesome. So let's see what we got here. We got our prop physics, the point template, which will spawn in the barrel, and the barrel will hit the trigger multiple, and when 3 barrels are spawned in by the player, the math counter will lock the button and open the door, and it will reset its own value back to 0, its initial starting value back to 0, so you can restart the process, and then it will open the door. And when the door opens, the barrels will fall into this little pit here, and then it will close after a certain number of seconds, and when it closes, the button will unlock so the player can do it again. So I'm going to go ahead and at the bottom here, I'm going to take my trigger brush, trigger texture, and I'm just going to fill in just the bottom area here of this little pit. Just like that. And then I'm going to go turn that into an entity, and I'm just going to change this to trigger remove and hit apply. I'm going to go ahead and save because I can't trust this thing. Alright, and then here I'm going to uncheck clients and hit physics objects and hit apply. I guess if you want to, you can also change the filter name to barrels, so that way it only does it to the barrels, but that's not too important, unless you want other objects falling in there and being removed. I just do that so that way the thing doesn't fill up and overflow and stack, and then that could cause problems for later. So if I did everything right here, I can go ahead and compile this. I'm just going to do a fast run here and hit OK. And then we're going to go check this out in game, see how that works. Alright, so here we are in game, and here is our little setup here with our button. So if I hit this button, that spawns in a barrel, and then you gotta wait a couple seconds and then hit it again. There's our second barrel, and if I do it once more, well, I guess it's because there we go. The only reason that happened is because the trigger brush isn't set high enough, so if they stack on top of each other, I didn't think about that, but I'm sure, you know, you can fix that. It's not a problem. But yeah, as you can see, when there's 3 barrels in here, the door opens and they all get removed when they hit the bottom, and then the door closes. It's really nice. Nice and simple. I think it's simple anyway. That's it. Enjoy the tutorials and everything that's gonna come in the future. Maybe.